Admiral Wu Jin stood on the bridge of his ship watching space bend and twist as thousands of alien ships appeared from nowhere. The sight should have been terrifying, but instead, he felt excited. These aliens called themselves the Galactic Dominion, and they had just made the biggest mistake in their long history. The enemy fleet was huge, 3,000 ships of different sizes, all glowing with strange purple energy. Their ships looked like giant crystals floating in space, sharp and deadly. The biggest ones were as large as cities, while the smaller ones moved like angry wasps around their parents. Captain Hana walked up to Wu Jin with a tablet in her hands. She was smiling, which surprised the other officers on the bridge. Most people would be scared when facing such overwhelming numbers, but Hana looked like she was about to enjoy herself. "The aliens are sending us a message," she said. Her voice was calm and professional, but Wu Jin could hear the excitement underneath. "They want to talk to whoever leads our pathetic little fleet." Wu Jin nodded and gestured to the main screen. "Put them through," he said. "I want everyone to hear this." The screen flickered and showed an alien that looked like a walking insect. Its head was covered in spikes and its forearms ended in sharp claws. When it spoke, its voice sounded like metal grinding against stone. "Primitive humans," it said. "We are the Galactic Dominion. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. Your species has been expanding. Into our territory like a disease, we offer you one chance to save your miserable lives." The alien paused and its eyes glowed brighter. "You will surrender all your ships and technology. You will return to your home planet and never leave it again. You will serve the Dominion as slaves just like every other inferior species we have conquered. You have exactly 24 hours to give us your answer." Wu Jin looked around his bridge and saw the faces of his crew. They were not afraid. They were angry. The alien had just insulted every human in the galaxy and called them inferior. That was exactly the wrong thing to say to humans. Commander Tae-ho was monitoring communications from all over human space. He turned to Wu Jin with a huge grin. On his face, "Admiral," he said, "every colony, every station, every ship in the fleet is sending the same message. They all want to know when the fighting starts." Lieutenant Yunji was studying the alien fleet on her screens. She had been analyzing their formation for the past hour, and she did not look impressed. "Their ships are big," she said, "but they move in very predictable patterns. They fight like they always win easily. They have never faced anyone who fights back properly." Wu Jin walked to the center of the bridge, feeling the eyes of his crew on him. He had been preparing for this moment his entire life. Every human military officer had been trained for the day when they would face a superior enemy. The aliens thought humans were just another weak species to be conquered. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Send a reply to the aliens," he said. "Make sure the entire galaxy can hear it." The communication officer nodded and opened channels to broadcast across known space. Wu Jin straightened his uniform and faced the alien on the screen. "Your offer is rejected," he said clearly. "We humans have a saying about challenges. The harder the fight, the more fun it becomes. You have just given us the biggest challenge in human history, and we could not be more grateful." The alien leader looked confused, as if it could not understand what Wu Jin had just said. Most species would beg for mercy when faced with the Dominion fleet. Instead, this human seemed happy about the situation. "Misunderstand the situation," the alien said. "We have 3,000 ships, you have barely 300. Even your largest vessels are smaller than our fighters. You cannot possibly win this battle." Wu Jin smiled, and that smile was not friendly. "You are making the same mistake that every bully makes," he said. "You think that bigger always means stronger. You think that numbers always win battles. You have never fought humans before, or you would know that we are at our best when the odds are against." Ashana stepped forward and addressed the alien directly. She had studied the enemy for years and knew exactly how their minds worked. "Your Dominion has conquered weak species that surrender when they see your big ships." She said, "Humans are different. When we see a bigger enemy, we start planning how to knock them down. When someone tells us we cannot win, we work twice as hard to prove them wrong." The alien was clearly getting frustrated. Its voice became louder and more threatening. "You dare to mock the Dominion? We have destroyed entire star systems. We have turned proud civilizations into dust. You insects will learn to fear us." Tae-ho laughed out loud, which made everyone on the bridge smile. The commander had a point. The alien was trying to scare humans by telling them about all the enemies it had defeated. But those enemies had been weak and afraid. Humans were neither. Actually, Wu Jin said, "We want to thank you for gathering your entire fleet in one place. It saves us the trouble of hunting you down ship by ship. Your people have been bullying this galaxy for 10,000 years, and someone needs to teach you some manners." The alien leader made a sound like an angry cat. "We will crush you like insects," it said. "Your species will be extinct before tomorrow." Wu Jin nodded politely. 24 hours, you said. That gives us plenty of time to prepare. We will use every minute to make sure this battle is memorable. You wanted to conquer another species today. Instead, you are going to learn why humans smile when someone threatens them. The communication ended and the bridge was silent for a moment. Then Hana started clapping, and soon every officer was applauding. The crew was not clapping for their admiral. They were clapping because they finally had a real challenge ahead of them. Yunji turned back to her screens and began analyzing weak points in the alien formation. Taeho started coordinating with human fleets throughout the system. Every ship, every station, every human settlement was preparing for battle. But they were not preparing like desperate defenders. They were preparing like hunters who had finally found worthy prey. Wu Jin looked out at the enemy fleet and felt something he had not experienced in years: pure excitement. For 50 years, humans had been exploring space looking for challenges worthy of their abilities. They had found pirates and criminals, but nothing that really tested human military power. The Galactic Dominion had just given humanity exactly what it had been looking for. A real enemy with real power that thought it could defeat humans through intimidation. The aliens had no idea what they had just awakened. They thought they were conquering another weak species. Instead, they had just challenged the most dangerous predators in the galaxy to a fight, and humans never backed down from a good fight. General Kyung-soo walked through the massive underground facility, hidden beneath the mountains of Korea. The complex was so large that electric trains carried people between different sections. Most humans had no idea this place even existed, but it was here that humanity had been preparing for war against a superior enemy for 50 years. The general stopped at a huge viewing window that looked down into a construction bay. Below him, workers were putting finishing touches on ships that looked nothing like the vessels the aliens had seen. Human military technology had two faces. The ships that explored space and traded with aliens were deliberately simple and weak. The real warships were hidden until they were needed. Dr. So Young met the general at the elevator that would take them deeper into the complex. She was the head of human military research and had spent her entire career preparing for this day. Her team had studied every piece of alien technology they could find and had created weapons specifically designed to defeat Dominion ships. General, she said with excitement in her voice, "Our preparations are complete. Every human ship in the fleet has been equipped with our latest systems. The aliens think they are fighting primitives, but they are about to face technology they cannot understand." The elevator descended for several minutes before stopping at a level marked with warning signs in dozens of languages. This was where humanity kept its most dangerous secrets. The weapons that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. So Young led Kyung-soo into a laboratory filled with screens and complicated machines. In the center of the room was a sphere of metal and crystal that seemed to glow with its own light. This was the heart of human military advantage. The aliens fight the same way they have for thousands of years. So Young explained. Their tactics never change because they have never needed to change. When you always win easily, you stop learning new ways to fight. But humans never stop learning and adapting. She activated a display that showed simulations of space battles. The human ships moved in patterns that seemed random at first, but were actually incredibly complex. Each ship was connected to every other ship through quantum communication networks that allowed instant coordination across vast distances. "Our ships can think and learn together," she said. "When one ship discovers something useful every other ship knows about it immediately, the aliens will think they are fighting 300 separate ships, but they are really fighting one giant organism with 300 bodies." Kyung-soo nodded and followed her to the next section of the laboratory. Here, engineer, Minho was working on the systems that would give human ships their greatest advantage, stealth technology that was far beyond anything the aliens had ever seen. Minho looked up from his work with a tired but satisfied smile. General, he said, we have installed quantum displacement fields on every ship in the fleet. The aliens will be able to see us, but their weapons will have trouble hitting us because we will not be exactly where we appear to be. The engineer activated a demonstration that showed how the technology worked. A model ship seemed to flicker and jump unpredictably. Even though it was actually moving in a straight line, enemy weapons would aim at where they thought the ship was, but hit empty space instead. But that is not even our best surprise, Minho continued. He led them to another section where Captain Yejin was reviewing intelligence reports that had taken years to gather. Her reconnaissance ships had been spying on Dominion military exercises throughout. The Galaxy Captain Yejin saluted the general and spread out star charts on the table between them. We have been watching them for decades, she said, studying how they fight, what their ships can do, and most importantly, what their weaknesses are. She pointed to different locations on the charts. The Dominion always uses the same battle formations because they have worked against every enemy they have faced. Their commanders are trained in tactics that are thousands of years old. They expect their enemies to be afraid and to make predictable moves. But humans do not fight like any species they have conquered before. Yejin continued. We have studied their ship designs and found critical weaknesses in their power systems, shield generators, and weapon arrays. Every human captain has been given detailed information about exactly where to strike for maximum damage. Kyung-soo studied the intelligence reports and felt impressed by the thoroughness of human preparation. The aliens thought they were surprising humanity with their attack, but humans had been expecting this confrontation for decades. The general moved to the final section of the complex where Commander Yuri was coordinating with resistance movements throughout Dominion territory. For years, humans had been secretly contacting enslaved species and helping them prepare for rebellion. Commander Yuri showed the general a galaxy-wide communication network that connected rebel cells on hundreds of worlds. The moment fighting starts between humans and the Dominion, she said, every enslaved species in the galaxy will begin uprisings. The aliens will not be able to focus all their attention on us because their entire empire will be in chaos. Kyung-soo looked at the scale of human preparations and felt proud of his species. While the aliens had grown lazy and complacent from easy victories, humans had been working harder than ever. They had turned their apparent weakness into strength and their isolation into opportunity. The general returned to the surface as the sun was setting over the mountains. In space above, the alien fleet was preparing for what they thought would be an easy battle. They expected to crush human resistance in a few hours and then celebrate another conquest. But humans had spent 50 years preparing for this exact moment. They had studied alien technology, reverse-engineered their weapons, and created countermeasures for their tactics. Every human ship was equipped with weapons designed specifically to penetrate Dominion defenses. More importantly, humans had prepared psychologically for this battle. They had trained their crews to see overwhelming odds as exciting challenges rather than reasons to despair. Human military doctrine was built around the idea that the best fights were the ones where victory seemed impossible. Admiral Wu Jin contacted Kyung-soo as the final preparations were completed. General, he said, our ships are ready, our crews are excited, and our weapons are loaded. The aliens gave us 24 hours to surrender, but we used that time to make sure they would regret making the offer. Kyung-soo smiled as he looked up at the stars where the greatest battle in human history was about to begin. The aliens had challenged humanity expecting an easy victory. Instead, they were about to discover why humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Tomorrow, the Galactic Dominion would learn that conquering humans was not just difficult, it was impossible. When humans were threatened, they did not surrender or despair. They prepared, adapted, and fought back twice as hard. The aliens had made the mistake of giving humanity time to get ready, and humans never wasted an opportunity to turn the tables on a bully. The real war was about to begin, and humanity could not wait to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. Ambassador Young Min sat in his office on the neutral space station Harmony Point. watching communication channels from across the galaxy light up with activity. Word of the confrontation between humans and the Galactic Dominion had spread faster than anyone could have imagined, and every species in known space was paying attention. The ambassador had served in diplomatic posts throughout the galaxy for 20 years, and had never seen anything like this. Usually when the Dominion threatened a species, the galaxy would watch quietly and sadly, knowing that another civilization was about to be destroyed. But this time was different. This time, there was hope in the messages flooding the communication networks. Jung-min opened a secure channel to Dr. Boram, who was monitoring galactic communications from her research station. The scientist had been tracking alien reactions to the human-Dominion standoff, and her findings were remarkable. "Ambassador," she said with excitement in her voice, "you need to see what is happening across the galaxy." The betting pools started on every major world within hours of the Dominion ultimatum. The odds should heavily favor the aliens, but something strange is happening. Boram transmitted data that showed betting patterns from hundreds of worlds. Despite the obvious numerical disadvantage, aliens throughout the galaxy were placing bets on human victory. The amounts were small because most species had little money under Dominion rule. But the pattern was clear. They believe humans can actually win. Jung-min said, reading the data with amazement. "How is that possible?" "The Dominion has never lost a major battle in 10,000 years. Boram pulled up additional information that she had gathered from monitoring civilian communications. Apparently, she said, stories about human behavior have been spreading through the galaxy for years. Traders and diplomats have been telling tales about how humans react to threats and challenges. She showed. Jung-min recorded conversations from alien merchants and travelers who had encountered humans during their space exploration. The stories were remarkably consistent. Humans did not become afraid when facing superior enemies. Instead, they became more dangerous, more creative, and more determined. One recording was from a trader who had witnessed humans defending a mining station from pirates. The pirates had outnumbered the humans 10-1 and had much better weapons. But instead of surrendering, the humans had used the mining equipment as weapons, turning industrial tools into devastating combat systems. The pirates had fled after losing half their ships. Another story came from a diplomat who had seen humans negotiate with a hostile alien government. The aliens had threatened to destroy human colonies if their demands were not met. Instead of giving in, the humans had calmly explained exactly how they would destroy the alien homeworld if any human civilian was harmed. The threats had been so detailed and credible that the alien government had immediately backed down. Jung-min realized that humanity had unknowingly been building a reputation throughout the galaxy for 50 years. Every time humans had encountered a threat, they had responded in ways that other species found both impressive and terrifying. Word of these incidents had spread from species to species until humans were viewed as the most unpredictable and dangerous warriors in known space. The ambassador opened another communication channel to Intelligence Officer Sung-ho, who had managed to infiltrate Dominion military communications. The intelligence officer had been monitoring enemy discussions about the upcoming battle and had discovered that even Dominion commanders were nervous about fighting humans. Officer Sung-ho appeared on the screen with a serious expression on his face. "Ambassador," he said, "the Dominion leadership is not as confident as they pretend to be. Their own military advisors are recommending caution when dealing with humans." He transmitted intercepted communications between Dominion fleet commanders. The messages revealed concerns about human unpredictability and warnings about underestimating an unknown enemy. Several commanders had requested additional ships or suggested waiting for reinforcements. One message was particularly revealing. A Dominion general had written to his superiors warning that humans might use tactics that violated conventional military doctrine. The general had studied reports of human behavior and concluded that they might be dealing with a species that treated warfare as entertainment rather than survival. Sung-ho highlighted another important discovery. The Dominion had been monitoring human communications for months, trying to understand their intentions. But instead of finding evidence of fear or desperation, they had found humans discussing the upcoming battle. like it was an exciting sporting event. "The enemy is confused," he explained. "They cannot understand why humans are not terrified. Their psychological warfare tactics are designed to break enemy morale through intimidation. But humans seem to become more motivated when threatened. This is completely outside Dominion." Experienced young men realized that the galaxy was witnessing something unprecedented. For thousands of years, species had either submitted to Dominion power or been destroyed by it. No one had ever challenged the Empire with genuine enthusiasm. The very idea was so alien to galactic thinking that it had captured everyone's imagination. The ambassador contacted Commander Yuri, who was coordinating with resistance movements on Dominion-controlled worlds. The commander had been organizing secret communications with enslaved species throughout the galaxy and had discovered that rebellion was spreading like wildfire. Commander Yuri appeared on screen from a hidden location, her face showing excitement and determination. "Ambassador," she said, "the enslaved worlds are watching this confrontation with more hope than they have felt in generations. They see humans as the first species with a real chance of defeating the Dominion." She transmitted reports from rebel cells on dozens of worlds. The messages all told the same story. Enslaved populations were preparing for uprisings timed to coincide with the human-Dominion battle. They had been secretly gathering weapons, stockpiling supplies, and identifying Dominion loyalists for decades. "But what makes this different," Yuri explained, "is that they actually believe they can win. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy has an example of someone standing up to the Dominion without backing down. The psychological impact cannot be overstated." Young Min looked at all the information his team had gathered and realized the true scope of what was happening. The battle between humans and the Dominion had become much more than a military confrontation. It had become a symbol of hope for every oppressed species in the galaxy. The ambassador opened a final communication channel to Admiral Wu Jin aboard the human flagship. The admiral needed to understand that the entire galaxy was watching and that the stakes had grown far beyond human survival. Admiral Young Min said, "When the battle begins tomorrow, you will not just be fighting for humanity. You will be fighting for every species that has ever dreamed of freedom. The entire galaxy is watching and hoping that someone can finally prove the Dominion is not invincible." Wu Jin appeared on screen with that characteristic human smile that had become famous throughout the galaxy. "Ambassador," he said, "we understand the responsibility. We did not ask to become the galaxy's champions, but we will not let you down. Humans have always fought harder when we know others are counting on us." As Jung Min ended the communication, he looked out at the stars and felt something he had not experienced in decades. Hope, the Dominion, had ruled through fear for 10,000 years, making every species believe that resistance was hopeless. But humans had changed everything simply by refusing to be afraid. Tomorrow, the galaxy would discover whether hope was enough to overcome 10 millennia of tyranny. The answer would determine the future of every species in known space. The Dominion fleet attacked exactly 24 hours after their ultimatum. Admiral Wu Jin watched from his bridge as 3,000 alien ships moved into attack formation with the precision of a military parade. Their massive dreadnoughts led the assault, firing energy beams so powerful they could vaporize planets. The first barrage should have ended the battle in seconds. The Dominion commanders expected to see human ships exploding like fireworks as their superior firepower overwhelmed primitive defenses. Instead, they watched in growing confusion as human vessels seemed to dance between the deadly energy beams. Captain Dongwu commanded the human vanguard and had been waiting his entire career for this moment. As the alien weapons fired at his squadron, he gave an order that would have sounded insane to any other species. All ships attack speed ahead, ramming formation. His pilots responded with cheers of excitement rather than fear. 20 human ships accelerated directly toward the massive Dominion dreadnoughts, moving faster than the aliens thought possible. The enemy had expected humans to maintain safe distances and fight defensively. Instead, they were charging straight into the teeth of overwhelming firepower. Lieutenant Haewon monitored enemy communications from her position aboard the flagship and could hear the panic in Dominion voices. Their commanders were shouting contradictory orders as their careful battle plan fell apart. Human ships were not where they were supposed to be doing what they were supposed to do. Enemy ship approaching Vector 7 Mark IV. One of the alien commanders screamed, "Impossible velocity. Why are they not maintaining defensive positions? All ships increase firepower." Another voice shouted, "Target the lead vessels immediately. This is not standard combat doctrine." Heywan smiled as she listened to the chaos. Human tactics were based on three-dimensional thinking that took full advantage of space combat possibilities. The aliens were trying to fight like ships on an ocean surface while humans moved like sharks in deep water. Fighter pilot Jiho led a squadron of human interceptors in what should have been a suicide mission. His orders were to penetrate the enemy, defensive screen, and target the Dominion command ships. This meant flying directly through the crossfire of hundreds of alien weapons as his squadron approached the enemy line. Jiho activated systems that the aliens had never encountered before. Human ships flickered and jumped unpredictably as quantum displacement fields made them nearly impossible to target accurately. Alien weapons fired at empty space while human fighters slipped through their defenses like ghosts. Target acquired Jiho, reported as his squadron reached the first Dominion command ship, initiating attack run. All pilots weapons free and remember to have fun. The human fighters unleashed a coordinated attack that struck the alien vessel at precisely calculated weak points. Their weapons were not larger or more powerful than Dominion systems, but they had been designed specifically to penetrate enemy shields and armor. The command ship shuddered under the assault and began losing power back aboard the human. Flagship Admiral Wu Jin was watching the tactical display with satisfaction. The Dominion fleet was discovering that size and firepower meant nothing if you could not hit your targets. Human ships were using adaptive shielding, electronic warfare, and quantum displacement to confuse alien targeting systems. Captain Hana reported from her tactical station, "Admiral, enemy accuracy is dropping rapidly. They are firing 3 times more shots but scoring fewer hits. Their weapons are designed for stationary targets, not for enemies that move like we do." Engineer Chulsu had been waiting for this moment to deploy humanity's most devastating surprise. As Dominion ships tried to establish communication links with each other, he released virus programs that could travel through any data connection, including targeting systems and weapon impacts. The alien fleet began experiencing system failures as human malware spread through their networks like a digital plague. Weapons misfired, shields fluctuated, and navigation systems provided false information. Dominion ships found their own technology turning against them. Captain Mi Young executed a maneuver that became instantly famous throughout the galaxy. As a spread of Dominion missiles approached her ship, she used the artificial gravity systems to capture them and redirect them back at their launch platform. The sight of alien weapons destroying their own vessels while human crews cheered with delight broke the morale of enemy formations that had never experienced real resistance. The Dominion had built their entire military doctrine around intimidation and overwhelming firepower. They expected enemies to become paralyzed with fear when facing impossible odds. Instead, humans seemed to become more energetic and creative under pressure. Treating the battle like an exciting game, Commander Tejo coordinated communications between human ships and was amazed by what he was hearing. Instead of requests for reinforcements or reports of damage, his crews were asking permission to try increasingly dangerous and creative attacks. They wanted to see who could destroy the most enemy ships or execute the most spectacular maneuvers. Medical officer Junho reported something that shocked even experienced military personnel. Human casualties were requesting immediate return to duty, claiming the battle was too exciting to miss from the medical bay. Meanwhile, intercepted alien communications showed Dominion crews requesting transfers away from human combat zones. The psychological warfare had completely reversed. The species that had terrorized the galaxy for 10,000 years were now afraid of humans who treated their ultimate weapons like entertaining challenges. Dominion commanders found themselves facing an enemy that became stronger and more dangerous when threatened. Within the first hour of combat, the tactical situation had shifted dramatically. The alien fleet that had confidently expected easy victory was now struggling to maintain formation against enemies that seemed to enjoy being outnumbered. The humans were not just winning, they were having fun doing it. Admiral Wu Jin opened a communication channel to the Dominion fleet commander, whose face showed confusion and growing fear. "You wanted to see how humans fight," he said calmly. "This is how humans fight. We do not become afraid when facing superior enemies. We become excited. We do not surrender when outnumbered. We work harder." The alien commander tried to respond with threats, but his voice lacked the confidence it had shown the day before. "You cannot defeat us," he said uncertainly. "We have 3,000 ships." Wu Jin smiled with genuine warmth. "You had 3,000 ships," he corrected. "Now you have fewer, and that number is dropping rapidly. Would you like to surrender, or shall we continue this demonstration?" The Dominion had ruled the galaxy by making other species believe resistance was hopeless, but humans had just proven that the mighty empire could be defeated by anyone willing to fight smart instead of fighting scared. The psychological impact of that revelation was spreading throughout the galaxy faster than the speed of light. The battle was far from over, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had turned the tables on the greatest military power in galactic history and made it look easy. The Dominion was about to learn that bullies eventually meet someone who hits back. Admiral Wu Jin stood on his bridge watching the impossible become reality. The Dominion fleet that had arrived with overwhelming confidence was now in full retreat as human ships pursued them across the solar system. What had begun as humanity's last stand had become a complete rout of the galaxy's greatest military power. The tactical display showed the stunning reversal of fortune. In just 4 hours of combat, the alien fleet had lost over half its ships, while human casualties remained surprisingly light. The Dominion commanders were no longer issuing threats. Instead, they were desperately trying to regroup their scattered forces. Captain Hana coordinated the pursuit with the enthusiasm of someone finally getting to use skills she had trained for her entire life. "Admiral," she reported with excitement, "the enemy is attempting to form a defensive line near Jupiter, but their ships are too damaged to maintain proper formation. Should we press the attack?" Wu Jin nodded without hesitation. "All ships continue advance. Do not give them time to recover. The moment you give a bully time to think, they start planning revenge. We end this now." Lieutenant Yunji had been analyzing enemy behavior patterns and had made a discovery that changed everything about how humans understood their opponents. "Admiral," she said urgently, "I have been monitoring Dominion internal communications. Their ships are not just retreating, they are abandoning the battle entirely." She transmitted, intercepted, communications that showed alien crews openly discussing desertion and requesting emergency evacuation. Several Dominion ships had already jumped to hyperspace without orders from their commanders. The great military machine that had conquered the galaxy was falling apart from within. Engineer Minho had continued developing new ways to exploit Dominion weaknesses, even during the heat of battle. "Admiral," he said with satisfaction, "our quantum virus programs have infected over 60% of their remaining fleet. Their own computers are now working for us." The engineer demonstrated his latest creation by taking control of a Dominion cruiser and using its weapons to attack other alien ships. The sight of enemy vessels turning on each other while human crews celebrated was breaking whatever remained of Dominion morale. Captain Yejin led a squadron of reconnaissance ships that had been shadowing retreating alien forces. "Admiral," she reported, "the enemy is trying to send distress calls to reinforcement fleets throughout the galaxy. But our electronic warfare systems are jamming their communications. They cannot call for help." The captain had discovered something even more significant. During their retreat, several Dominion ships had collided with each other as their crews panicked. The aliens were so used to easy victories that they had no training for fighting desperate defensive battles. Their discipline was collapsing under pressure. Fighter pilot Ji-ho had become a legend during the first phase of the battle and was now leading attacks on the largest remaining enemy ships. "Sir," he reported cheerfully, "we have destroyed the enemy flagship and captured their fleet commander. He wants to surrender, but his own ships are not responding to his orders." The revelation that Dominion crews were ignoring their own commanders sent shockwaves through both fleets. The rigid military hierarchy that had held the alien empire together for millennia was crumbling in the face of human tactics they could not comprehend. Medical Officer Junho made a report that surprised everyone on the human side. "Admiral, our wounded are not only requesting to return to duty, They are complaining that we are winning too quickly. Several pilots have asked if we can save some enemy ships for later battles. They do not want the fun to end. Meanwhile, Dominion medical channels showed alien crews suffering from combat stress and requesting sedatives to deal with panic attacks. The species that had terrorized the galaxy was discovering what it felt like to be afraid. Commander Yuri had been monitoring galactic communications and brought news that changed the scope of the entire conflict, Admiral, she said, with barely contained. Excitement rebellions have begun on over 200 Dominion-controlled worlds. The enslaved populations saw humans defeating their oppressors and decided to fight for their own freedom. The commander showed reports from across the galaxy as enslaved species launched coordinated uprisings. The psychological impact of seeing the mighty Dominion fleet fleeing from humans had inspired revolts that stretched the alien empire beyond its ability to respond. The galactic order was changing in real time. Captain Dongwu had been leading the most aggressive human attacks and had made a discovery that explained why the battle had been so one-sided. Captain, he reported, the aliens fight like they expect their enemies to be afraid. When facing opponents who are not intimidated, their entire tactical doctrine falls apart. The captain had captured several alien prisoners and learned that Dominion military training focused on breaking enemy morale rather than actual combat skills. Their weapons were designed for terrorizing weak opponents, not for fighting determined resistance. Captain Mi Young had been experimenting with increasingly creative tactics and had developed what would become known as the human doctrine of combat superiority. Admiral, she reported, we have proven that any enemy can be defeated if you refuse to fight by their rules. Her ship had just completed a maneuver where she used a disabled Dominion vessel as a weapon by accelerating it into an enemy formation. The aliens had no response to tactics that treated their own ships as expendable resources. Admiral Wu Jin realized that humanity had accomplished something far greater than military victory. They had broken the psychological foundation of Dominion power. The aliens had ruled through fear, but humans had proven that fear was just another weapon that could be turned against its users. The Admiral opened a communication channel that would broadcast across the entire galaxy. This message would reach every enslaved species, every Dominion stronghold, and every corner of known space people of the galaxy. He began. This is Admiral Wu Jin of the Terran Defense Fleet. Today, humanity has defeated the Dominion fleet not through superior numbers or better weapons, but by refusing to be afraid. He gestured to the tactical display that showed scattered alien ships fleeing the solar system. For 10,000 years, the Dominion has ruled you through intimidation. They made you believe they were invincible, that resistance was hopeless, that you had no choice but to submit. Today we have proven they were lying. Wu Jin's voice carried across space to billions of enslaved beings who had lived their entire lives under Dominion oppression. The Terran fleet offers alliance to any species that wants to fight for freedom. We will not build an empire to replace the Dominion. Instead, we will help you build the strength to defend yourselves. The message ended, but its impact was immediate. Throughout the galaxy, enslaved populations began openly celebrating in the streets, while Dominion garrison forces found themselves outnumbered and surrounded. The empire that had seemed eternal was collapsing faster than anyone had thought possible. Back on the human flagship, Admiral Wu Jin looked at his crew and felt pride in what they had accomplished. They had not just won a battle, they had liberated an entire galaxy by proving that bullies could be defeated if you were willing to stand up and fight back. The Dominion fleet continued its retreat, but the war was already over. The psychological victory was complete, and the galaxy would never again submit to rule through fear alone. Humanity had changed everything by doing what humans always did. When threatened, they had smiled and fought back twice as hard. The battle that was supposed to destroy humanity ended with something no one had expected: complete surrender of the Dominion fleet. Admiral Wu Jin received the formal surrender message not from the alien fleet commander who had been captured, but from individual ship captains who had watched their mighty empire crumble in a single day. Captain Hana stood beside the Admiral as they processed dozens of surrender requests from Dominion vessels scattered throughout the solar system. The fear. Aliens were not surrendering because they had run out of ammunition or lost too many ships. They were surrendering because they could no longer understand what they were fighting. Admiral, she said with amazement in her voice, some of these surrender messages are asking if they can join our fleet. They want to learn how humans fight. Several captains are requesting asylum from their own government. The revelation that enemy officers wanted to switch sides showed how completely the psychological foundations of the Dominion had collapsed. These were not desperate survivors begging for mercy, but professional military officers who had seen something they wanted to be part of. Lieutenant Yunji had been monitoring Galactic communications and brought news that exceeded everyone's expectations. "Admiral," she reported with excitement, "rebellions are succeeding on over 500 worlds. The Dominion government is collapsing faster than anyone predicted. Some worlds are declaring independence, while others are requesting human protection." The lieutenant showed reports from across the galaxy as enslaved civilizations threw off chains that